last year and this year that was the ongoing issue. So I don't know. I think that process could also be tightened up and expectations could be a lot more clear and accountability could be a lot more enforced.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Doug. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm seeing now y'all done open up a can of worms with the scholars. But yeah, I'm tracking with some of this feedback. Thank y'all for highlighting those pieces.
Oh, and one more thing that
Mm-hmm.
just came to mind too, just kind of vetting too. I think
Mm-hmm.
we had a feedback from that one storyteller. So just next year, I think Elaine also mentioned it. What would it look like to have like just Latinx Ed affiliates or just some sort of vetting process for storytellers to ensure that the quality and of the session is up to par with what we want our community
Mm-hmm.
to feel when they're stepping into those spaces. And so that was another thing that was named.
Yeah. Thanks,
I've
Doug.
heard that before. Can we kind of debrief on a little bit about that, if possible, before we move forward?
Yeah.
I don't know what was talked about.
Was anybody in that session that we kind of got some red flags about? Was it Mireya? I'm not sure.
No, that
No.
was happening at the same time as our guest.
So it was okay. So I just if somebody was there, please
Mm-mm.
interrupt me. The feedback I got was from people who were attending. It was kind of like hearsay, if you will, like it was secondary feedback. But there was one session which was around the Browning of education. I think that was the title of it, but it just was like it was a decent proposal written down, which is why we let it in, but it was also a speaker I had never heard before, and I don't think anybody had direct connections to. So it was a little bit of like a leap of faith to just, trust that there would be a qualified speaker in a good topic. But because issues of race are very sensitive in how we talk about it and just mindfulness and all of that, it just didn't seem like that was the like his session was a little bit controversial in some senses for like whether it was slides that he was showing. I think some folks said it wasn't like they didn't feel like it was a huge deal, but some folks, especially people who do that work, were like, what? Feeling like they wouldn't have, recommended this person to lead future sessions. And so I think that just came back to reflecting on how do we know beyond just looking at a piece of paper whether these folks are qualified or not, but also how we're integrating themes into Latinx education in our work and like making sure that each of our sessions have like a really strong through line. And so an idea was perhaps having a new eligibility or criteria, testing it out next year, where you have to have a Latinx Ed affiliate as a part of your proposal. And so that would be a staff member, a board member, a fellow, somebody who has official Latinx Ed status. And it hits a few things. It helps us, filter or at least have a person that we know kind of helping navigate the space, someone that we can kind of vouch for. But also it helps maybe even people build deeper connections, but also most importantly, I think amplify the voices of the fellows in our network and make this is a state now that we have such a big network, this is a stage that they get to present and can be on and we, can help make those connections. So it's a benefit for the fellows to be able to become a part of the network and then be able to access the stage too. And just have receiving training, and they will know ultimately how Latinx Ed vibes, and be able to kind of hold space for that too. So just helps us vet versus not having to go with I see that comment. Veronica said he was using language that could be offensive, but saying no offense. Like I've seen some race, like especially conversational race, go really off course. So it was a little bit of leap of faith. I think we hit probably 7 out of 8 were okay. But then I think Alice mentioned in our previous session that some presentations could have just been more dynamic, more interesting, engaging. And I'm not trying to interview everybody who's going to go on our stage. So maybe a way to like help that is by bringing people who we know are trusted members of our community.
Yeah, I like what Alice was saying, maybe video submissions, right? Because a proposal was submitted, on paper and it could read very well, right? But seeing somebody, kind of give like a 2-minute run through of their proposed presentation would be very interesting because, I would like to push back a little bit on, having Latinx Ed like bring you in, because at that point we're not growing our network, right? We want to be able to continue growing our network, and some of that could be like nobody has an affiliate Latinx Ed, but they might be very good to be able to bring in, right? So it's like a double-edged sword in a way, and I want us to really be intentional as we're growing.
Yeah, I just don't know how the cold call is going to work though. Like, to be honest, like, I don't know. I mean, I think the video could help if we have capacity. I know Zam and I were holding down the fort with the entire selection process, and it was, again, another pressure cooker thing. So we just have to recognize that the selection process will take more time and need more detail. So it's a question about capacity. I'm not trying to hinder our network, but I also think that we could help, let's say somebody wants to present on XYZ, where like we actually have a fellow. I did a lot of that matchmaking behind the scenes. Like, I got Jessica added to the education policy leaders panel. Like, a lot of the language that we put in the proposals is like, we're going to help coach you. Submit something, we'll match make you, help kind of connect the dots there. But there much to be teased out, but I do think we have some, this is our first time ever doing proposals, so it's natural to even make mistakes next year again, and figure, but without capacity to do such a detailed process, I think we'll find ourselves struggling again with that piece.
And I mean, definitely could try a lot of different things. I don't think it like limits our network, because we have 175 people who know like 200 people each, I do think it's still helping us expand our network, because if they know a fellow or have a connection to somebody else, a board member, or even one of us, then it could be one of the ways we get insight on people. It doesn't have to be that way, but I think even understanding some connections would be helpful.
Cool. Well, thanks y'all for some of those ideas. We'll definitely get more into that as we move into the SWOT pieces. I'll go through the crecimiento and curiosities pieces just briefly, because and the changes, because a lot of what we'll map out or a lot of the pieces that we can include as new opportunities will be included in the SWOT. So I'll go through those so that we still have some time to actually get into the activity to dig into this a little bit deeper. A couple of changes that I'll highlight that came through. We just talked about the vetting process, right? For storytellers, reimagining what a run through could look like. Someone talked about a physical run through versus just a visual run through, which that was a really great way to think about it. Incorporating wellness and care components for burnt out educators. I think this is often something that we hear from folks who attend the summit, how this is a place of re-energizing their commitment to education. So wondering how we can incorporate some of those opportunities there. And then the big one was logistics changes needed to check in, the management of day 2, the leveraging Eventbrite QR code for check-in, etc. So just some things to keep top of mind. For crecimiento, some things I just want to highlight the growth. Okay, this is now our 3rd in-person summit, and we have learned. So the workshops, despite setbacks, still feeling like they were well curated and high quality. Bringing out of state perspective was really helpful to broaden the conversation around Latinos. Shout out to those talk. And this piece around the really empowering courageous leadership is that were offered this year provided ways for folks to move into action once they completed the summit. So a couple of curiosities that came up were questions around how did the team leverage the 2 weeks. Here we have weeks blocked out. And observation was that there were still a lot of last minute pushes to get things like program and name badges done. So how do we leverage the prep time to avoid these pushes? And then the other question was which portions of the summit still with our choices, what. So folks, when they shared feedback, were curious about like the mixer, wondering if it was still worth our time, talent, and treasure. So just some things for you to keep in mind as we move into SWOT piece. And the chat is active.
Uh-oh. Did we lose her overall? I think she might have gone. She was gone with the wind. I think it's helpful. I'll take over from here and see if she's able to head back. Yeah, Ed, are you a host? Could you make me a co-host by any chance? While I oh, Kira, are you back? Okay, Kira, if you're back, feel free to interrupt. Moi.
Riff.
Rough, because it's still breaking up. Can you hear us or no?
Great. I can hear you.
Oh, wait. You're back now. Can you hear? How about now, Kira?
I made you a co-host, Elaine. Did the recording go away?
No, it's still good, but Kira, I'm just trying to figure out if Kira's back or not.
Can you see me? I'm typing in the chat.
Okay,
I'm here.
you're actually coming in clear now.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, y'all.
No, you're fine.
Okay. I've lost all of my pages, so yeah, I think the last piece that I'll close out with is again, it's just these pieces are helpful for us to keep as we move into the SWOT at the bottom, get a chance to really dig into some of these pieces in more depth so that we can think of the most emergent and urgent needs for us to reimagine a summit in 2025. But Elaine, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay.
I want to chat, but
Yeah. No, thank you,
yeah.
Kira, for kind of grounding us on what's coming in so far. I mean, I'm excited. I think there is great feedback for next year for this. And as you can tell, we've gotten feedback through summit conversations, through surveys, through conversation. We have a lot of information here. I think what's going to help us narrow in is really thinking about the top of the top, like the creme de la creme, the things that are going to be our 5% for next year on areas that are time sensitive, pressing, and I know we have a lot of really beautiful ideas. I think my challenge to this team is to really focus on like one, like the few things, right, that are really going to get us from here to there. And I'm going to name that because all of this information getting to the top of the priority list is going to be helpful for directors to reimagine a game plan. And this event, it's going to take many years, dare I say, beyond a decade, to really feel like we've solidified every element, every aspect of the summit. And we're going to get there for sure. But where can we put our extra energy this upcoming year to really nail certain things that we want to see ourselves grow in, especially the biggest pain points that we are seeing? And so this session today is really about being able to process that information together, especially with teams. I know one intention that we have for next year is that we're going to be working more collaboratively earlier as a larger team. Now we have more director support, which is critical. To be able to allow for a new workflow is, I think, going to be helpful too. So just with those things being named, I want to ground us for the conversation that we're going to have, and we'll do it in like a 3 breakout room kind of way, where we'll have community impact, advancement, admin, and then fellowship team be able to really unpack together what their essentially top 4 things are. What is that strength that you think we need to double down on? What is that weakness that we really need to focus on? What is that opportunity that could really be beneficial for our team? And last but definitely not least, what are the threats that we need to pay attention to? And so I'll drop in the chat the questions to guide us through this time together. But my hope is that each group, so there's 3 of us, 3 groups, that we're going to come back with 4 things. And so 3 times 4 is 12, and that's plenty to be able to especially offer the directors to be able to map out where is going to be the biggest investment for time as we try again next year. And I always love the trying again. I mean, it's so fun. I even oh my gosh, getting so close to the summit, we hadn't even done it. I'm like, I'm ready to start over. This is so exciting to think about all the ways that we can build and be creative together. So before we set folks off, does that make sense? Give me a little emoji, or you can interrupt if you have a question. If
Where
you
do you want us to write the notes off? Do we just put them in the
That's
document?
a great question. I think, yes, let's put it in the document. We'll do like a community impact, fellow admin, advancement, and then a fellowship one. And you're coming back with one per each. So it might take you like talking it out a little bit and be like, what's the one we want to bring to the table? You might notice, because other groups are taking notes, that somebody else has already chosen one. So if you want to go with a different one, that might give you a little opportunity to flesh it out with your group. We do have time, but when we come back, we're going to be sharing out each group just what we thought. So we'll be like a quicker share out, but we'll leave like 10 minutes for the end. So you have about 15 minutes with your groups to really hash this out and get deeper into it. Any other questions? That was a good one. And the purpose
Elaine,
of
do we have like a mission statement for or a purpose objectives of the summit? Because I think we want to make sure we're identifying things to change or things to improve upon that align as closely as possible with that purpose, right?
Absolutely. I am laughing because I just pulled up the website. The website is pretty on point with them. I'm going to translate it to the chat here. These are our 4 objectives. And then I think our about statement has been a good one as well. So I'm going to put that there just to create more inspo as well. The questions that are under each section are also meant to help probe, but you know what a strength is, right? Like don't overthink it, but these are some questions that can maybe help if you're like thinking about which ones you want to pull forward. Okay. So feel free to use those to guide your group. Okay. All right. I've already said too much because you need more time to chat. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms, and then we will, when you see 11:50 gather around, just start wrapping up. Okay. All right, here we go. And then, yeah, you'll just have to join. Okay. That was juicy, and I can't believe we only have 7 minutes left. But you know what? 7 divided by 3 is 2 minutes. Okay, we got 2 minutes each to showcase what our teams came up with. So I think we'll go in order if that's okay. So community impact first, and then advancement and admin, and then fellowship, and then we'll wrap it up. So mindfulness of time, please uplift 1 strength, 1 weakness, 1 opportunity, and 1 threat that you'd like to share with the group. We're limiting it to 1, so make sure they're bold. And let's get it or who is ready to go? Community impact, are y'all ready to go first? I see a lot of layers, but maybe they're all connected to the same thing.
Yeah, we can go. I can take the initiative and talk about the community impact thing. But if anybody else on our community impact team, did I miss anything? Just please feel free to chime in. But our community impact strengths that we saw is relationships. We felt like relationships and being very intentional with the relationships was our overall strength. Being intentional with providing space for networking and building new relationships and cultivating relationships that we've been having throughout the year. So overall, relationships is the biggest strength. Some weaknesses is timely communication with Canva team. Canva being a new contractor, a new process for us, there was obviously going to be some breakdown and stuff, and just shifting staff roles due to onboarding and departures. So internal stuff really kind of hindered a lot of this progress and communication. What was being seen. Opportunities is continue building trust, transparency and vulnerability on staff. One things that was said is board members were eager to volunteer the day of. So if they were eager, we can tap them in advance to make sure they're fully on board with the summit, and the summit really being that catalyst. And a lot of this work happens afterwards, right? Some of the threats that we were seeing is if if this summit is a whole team experience, all 10 of us on Latinx Ed staff, at that point we're working 120% or 130% or 150%, right? What things can the internal summit team start letting go in our smaller teams like community impact, admin, or operations to be able to focus a little bit more of their time on Summit team, and so people don't burn out. So that's the overall stuff that we were talking about. Did I miss anything that y'all would like to add? No. All right. Well, try to keep it under 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good job. And Doug, you're next.
All right. So with our team, the strength that we highlighted was that we do recognition and celebration really well. I think the more that the way that we celebrate the voices in our community is really special, and a lot of people really resonate with that. Like the award ceremony, for example, was just a fantastic and really touching moment in that. And so, but it's also an exercise of trust too, because these folks trust us to come to our event and celebrate them in the best way that we can. So the more we lean into that, the better it'll be. Weaknesses, systems and processes could be much more simple and user-friendly. So especially if we're going to continue to collaborate across a whole team. I think often when we bring in the rest of the team in, there's a lot of confusion. Of course, there's a lot of questions and stuff like that. So the more simple that also the Summit team is on point, the passing the baton, the more easier it will be to pass the baton over to folks at the rest of the team. And then sometimes we are very ambitious sometimes with ideas, and sometimes complicated ideas. Sometimes need to take a back seat to see if that can help, it can happen next year. And I think approaching the summit in an iterative mindset rather than trying to reinvent the wheel every single year will put a lot less stress on the team. Sometimes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, that's just like, sometimes you just got to go with that way, especially so it can free up capacity to do other things, right? And then opportunity, naming a creative lead and an operational lead. I think oftentimes Elaine was, of course, sometimes holding both of those pieces together, in that it's just like two different approaches to the work can create a lot of confusion, and also some things falling behind, creating a little bit of a bottleneck. So we propose that a great opportunity would have to assign a creative lead and an operational lead that holds different pieces of the summit. And then the threat that we identified was political radicalization. Of course, as we step into more civic engagement pieces, it's created a need for a crisis management plan, right? Not just in terms of security for the venue, cybersecurity. The imposter actually called our number prior to coming to the event. So like some of these pieces, right? So cybersecurity it can be a threat for third actors and all of those pieces, and also medical protocols too. The allergic reaction was one thing that we just did not expect, but should be something we should be prepared for the following year, and what we kind of do to handle that. And also press access, right? So we don't want unauthorized press folks coming in and trying to co-opt or like the message that we're trying to have with the summit. So some of those things at the door, how can we check folks at the door to make sure that they don't try to hijack our event or make folks uncomfortable. So that's kind of where we landed. And I don't know if y'all had any other pieces to add.
You nailed it, Doug. Passing it to the fellowship team. Bring us home.
All righty. So for fellowship, number one strength is intentionally engaging, showcasing, and leveraging our fellows. Whenever we put them at art exhibits, media storytelling, volunteering, they are like the model affiliate that we're talking about. They're people we can trust and lean on. For weakness, some of us or all of us found sort of a challenge with like the balance between networking and relationship building versus summit execution responsibilities. Whenever we had an opportunity or saw an opportunity to build relationships, sometimes we were being pulled a different way or had to get something done or in a different conversation. So it sort of hurt. Opportunity, creating intentional spaces for fellows to network with each other. I think I've already said it, but like I want part of the mixer to be for fellows, a panel for fellows, a workshop for fellows, just something that feels like super exclusive to them. Even though it is fun to introduce them to each other and like they have no idea who they are. And then for the threat, we named accessibility. I'm just like, how do we make the summit more accessible? I think this could go across different teams, but partners, fellows, and other attendees shared challenges with confirming PD funds so early in the school year. And so like moving the summit up a little bit would be like, I guess like helpful for like multiple people to like confirm dates early, get funding early. And we also named attacks on DEI happening, educators facing unique challenges for PD opportunities. But I think we've heard a lot of these already. But yeah, that's all.
Oh my gosh, only 1 minute over. Woo woo. I'm just so grateful for folks for leaning in and trying to go for the like top thing. Yes, kudos to you, Brian. I know the 2 minutes was hard, so kudos to our presenters here. I'm looking forward to this reset next year. I know on the director side, we have a lot to figure out, but it's actually coming sooner than later. So all of this information is very helpful as we kind of set up that container for next year. I know my role is, y'all, I will feel it. It will be different. I'm no longer going to be the creative operational decision maker or the final one on some of this stuff. It's going to really shift, and we'll figure that out. And I'm sure that will be a work in progress as well. But I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this team works together. A little new leadership moment. I'm excited for it and excited for us to keep fleshing it out. So lots of really great ideas. I think, yeah, Kiara, feel free to add if you have anything else, but I think this is plenty to get started with a new template.
Yep, excited to go into our director huddle soon and analyze and debrief this internally a little bit more.
Woo, woo. Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm not going to hold you back from lunch. Thank you again. To be continued, and looking forward to next week's strategy huddle as well. Adios, y'all.
See y'all.